judge and say, take out your pen and fix all this stuff that we screwed up over the last 20 years. We sat down with our people and we said, if this is going to work and we're going to have that engagement at the end of the process that we need, we're going to work with our people on making changes. And we're going to make it so they understand why this is in everybody's long-term best interest. And because we did it that way, I have a lot of confidence in the future of our future ability. The world's going to keep changing. And so our team's experience over the past decade working together to make changes gives me a lot of confidence about our ability to keep doing that. Versus, I think it's a competitive advantage, versus a competitor who said, Uncle, bring in the judges and lawyers. And then they didn't really learn how to do this stuff. And I think that's a big point. So our mindset is that we're still very much in a transformation or a turnaround situation, and we need to not be shy about taking some business risks and continuing to try new things. And the other mindset that I think is important is to be realistic. I'll use two words here. Realistic is one of them. Realistic about the situation that we're facing. Don't mince words. This is what it is. These are the numbers. These are the trends. This is not great. This is what's going on. But on the other hand, be optimistic about what we can do about it. So we never said things are terrible and we don't have a plan. We said things aren't great, but man, we got a whole bunch of plans. And if those plans don't work exactly right, we got a bunch more beyond that. So communicating that balance of realism and optimism to employees, especially to the internal audience, I think is really, really important and something that I look back on and say, we did that pretty well. We certainly weren't perfect in this effort, but that was something that was really important, and you got to keep people in the game, you got to keep them motivated. So I am very optimistic about our long-term prospects, but because we've been realistic about the changes that we've needed to make and because of our improving capabilities to make those changes. So through the process, we learned a lot of lessons, and we've now had 6 consecutive years of profitability. The second quarter of 2010 was our best financial performance in the company's history. We had a record summer for load factor. We're making our goals in terms of customer service. So we do lots of surveys on that, so customer satisfaction, on-time performance, baggage delivery, all the stuff. We're measuring lots of stuff we didn't used to measure. And we're starting to see the results, and it's quite gratifying. And again, thank you for hanging in there. If you went through some of this period of time with us over this transformation, it was not only tough on employees, it was tough on customers, and thanks for being a loyal customer. So let me quickly review. I wrote down 8 lessons, and I'll be pretty quick with this, but these are the things that I think we've learned that hopefully could have some application if you're facing some aspects of the same sort of thing with your own business. So here are the 8 lessons. The first one, many of you have read Jim Collins. So in the words of Jim Collins in his book, Good to Great, he says, get the right people on the bus. I think that is exactly right. Because change is all about people, and the leadership team and the tone at the top are critical. And without that, if you're not driving this from a pretty high level in the company, if you're not driving change from that level, you're not going to be able to, you won't be very successful in making any big changes or lasting changes. And by the way, boards of directors are very important. That is the ultimate top of a company. And getting the board understanding and helping communicate the message early on is very, very important. The second one is to create a sense of urgency. So we had lost over $200 million in a 3-year period. And we were headed for a bankruptcy if we'd wanted to do that. We could have done that. But get some urgency going. You know, you got some indicators here that aren't going well. Let's get on with it. And don't worry about perfection. I've seen too many people that sit around and try to get it exactly right in their plan. You know what? Get it 80 or 90% there, and then get going. Speed is important when you've got a transformation, you've got an economic crisis going on. And expect resistance. I've talked about that, but human beings are resistant to change. That's not positive or negative. It's just a fact. So expect that. I read and be persistent. I read a great quote about humans and change. Get this. Some people change when they see the light, others when they feel the heat. That's not bad. The point is, do whatever it takes. Either one is fine. You just got to get the change going, okay? And don't get talked out of things. You'll get all this resistance, and you'll start questioning yourself. And when you got a plan, go for it. Third is focus on 1 or 2 big ideas. You've all been to planning sessions where you come away with 25 or 50 things to go work on for the next 12 months. Next time you go to one, say, how about 1 or 2? We did that 20 or 30 for a long time. We come back 12 months later and say, what did we really do? Not so much. And we said, let's focus on 1 or 2 big ideas. We started making lots of progress, and we built a lot of process around those 1 or 2 big ideas, a lot of reporting out and a lot of assigning IT resources and making them big, making them important, and communicating them through all 12,000 people. We've done cost reductions, we've done operational improvement, we've done revenue improvement. Those are kind of our three big ideas over the last several years. Fourth is, and I touched on this, what you measure gets done. So start measuring stuff if you're not. Everybody wants to win. Get some metrics going and communicate to people what's expected and set up a system so people can win. Be clear about goals, explain them in very simple terms. Fifth is to focus on what you can control over the long term. There are a lot of external factors in our business, like oil prices and the economy. It'd be easy to think that, the future's out of our control, but we found out it was mostly in our control. And there's lots of things we can do. We decided that bankruptcy was not a good strategy, and we decided that hope was not a good strategy. Number 6 is to be totally and completely customer focused. And these initiatives, the lower cost and the improved operation and the revenue, those are all because customers want that. The bottom line is that we realize customers ultimately decide our success. We can tell any story we want about what we're doing, but if you want to really find out what's going on, go talk to the customer. And the customer's opinion is the only one that really matters. 7 is, as a leader, don't confuse being popular with doing the right thing, at least in the short term. Making tough calls is what good leaders do, and if you run around worried about what people think of you all the time or what the politics are, you're going to fall short on making the changes you need to make. If you do the right things, you will be well regarded after the fact, but just know that there'll be a lot of noise during that period of change. 8, the final point is to develop win-win strategic partnerships, and we've done that successfully with our airline alliances. People in the industry call us Switzerland. We got deals with everybody, right? Delta and American are our biggest, but partnerships are important. They're important for companies. They're important for regions. It's exactly what you're doing here this afternoon, and I applaud you for that. And Spokane has been an excellent partner for us. So finally, let me state 4 simple principles. We started working on all these changes, and a couple of us sat down and said, maybe there's some bullet points here we can come up with that could apply universally. So these are things your parents or grandparents probably told you. They're not very complicated. How about these 4? 1 is don't buy things you can't afford. 2 is don't borrow money you can't pay back. Number 3, don't do deals you don't understand. And finally, if it doesn't seem right, it probably isn't. Now let's go back to the AIG, Washington Mutual, Bear Stearns. What if they'd had those rules sitting around the board table? I think they might have ended up in a different place. So we plan to keep running our business in accordance with these rules. I think they're good principles no matter what business you're in. And as I said, we certainly haven't been perfect in this transformation, but we have a fabulous team with very strong values. We've got a great brand, and we've got an incredible dedication to getting it right. So in conclusion, back to the similarities between Alaska and this region. You, like us, have a strong foundation from which to build on the future. The main ingredients for both of us are continued good leadership, a strong vision, and a lot of persistence. And as I said, my sense is you already have all of these, and I think we do as well. And for me, being part of the team that is changing the course of a company is very exciting. Improving the future for your region will benefit thousands of people for decades to come. So good luck with your efforts, and thanks again for the opportunity to be here. Thank you.